religion. Give me that old-time religion, and it's good enough for me. It was good for old Jonah. It was good for old Jonah. It was good for old Jonah, and it's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion, and it's good enough.
Good morning, young ladies and gentlemen. And visitors. For our science lesson today, we shall continue our discussions of Darwin's theory of the descent of man. As I told you yesterday, Darwin's theory tells us that we evolved from a lower order of animals, from the first wriggling protozoa in the sea to the ape and finally to man.
Bertram T. Cates?
Come off it, Sam. You know me all my life.
Bertram Cates, you are charged with violation of Public Act 31428, Volume 37 of the State Code, which makes it unlawful for any teacher of the public schools to teach any theory that denies the creation of man as taught in the Bible, and to teach instead that man has descended from a lower order of animals. Bertram T. Cates, I hereby place you under arrest.
The American martyr was born this morning at precisely 8 a.m. Eastern Standstill Time. His name is Bertram Cates. Where? Heavenly Hillsboro, if you please. And the almanac says the population is 2,164, elevation 702 feet, intellectual quotient 0. We'll become the news capital for the entire uncivilized world. That won't be the sound of crickets, the blockheads of Hillsboro here, but the machine gunnery of telegraph keys beating out the trial of the century. It's Darwin versus Jehovah, and the devil take the hindmost. Now, get me a ticket on the next train out.
Everybody just calm down. Listen to this. Monkey shines in Hillsboro. The monkey trial. I'm telling you, the whole world is laughing at us. Look, here's another one. This was from Chicago. Heavenly Hillsboro. Does it have a hole in its head? Or is its head in a hole? Now, I'm telling you, we've gone too far.
Oh, let them laugh. I'm telling you, we are fighting the Lord's battle here. I'd sight rather have some heathen laugh at me than have my sons laugh at my Bible.
They mocked the Lord, too, didn't they? And they spat upon him, and he turned to them his other cheek.
Oh, look, Reverend, we don't want to smite them back. We just want to make them stop. Tom, you're the prosecuting attorney. Isn't there something we can do?
In view of my position, I hardly think it ethical to express my opinion.
Well, maybe you ought to go back to law school, then. I mean, what do we care what a bunch of city fellas and foreigners think? You ever had a Frenchman stay in your hotel? And what about you, Joe? When was the last time you sold a pound of grits to some fancy man from New York City?
Now, you listen to hold on.
Friends. As you know, I deal in figures. Counts, checks, balances. My bank operates on a principle of practical reality, and so do I. Are you aware, my friends, that the great universities will consider applicant students from our state ineligible because of this law? Now, I don't know whose idea it was to hang a shingle on Hillsboro spelling horse and buggy, but as for me, I won't invest in antiquity. I want my banks holding credit in New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois. And I may want my son to go to Yale. Now, I believe in, as much as anyone in this room, in a basic fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible. But we can't close our eyes to
Wait
all
a minute.
progress.
Brady volunteers to prosecute a monkey trial.
Matthew Harrison Brady. God's his sinner's right hand.
Matt Brady, looks like I'll be working with him.
They'll come pouring out of the hills. Town will fill up like a rain barrel in a flood.
It'll be bigger than the state fair.
Oh, they're gonna need places to sleep.
All those people, they gotta eat.
This will put Hillsboro on the map of this country.
We must give thanks unto the Lord. Let us pray.
You better start praying, son. Imagine Matthew Harrison Brady coming here. I voted for him for president. Twice. In 1900 and again in '08. I wasn't old enough to vote for him first time he ran, but my pa did. Seen him once at Chautauqua meeting in Chattanooga. When he spoke, the tent pole shook. Who's your lawyer gonna be, son?
I don't know yet. Some organization in New York is supposed to be sending somebody.
Yeah, he better be loud. Now, who can that be? Bert, you don't mind, do you? Just for the looks of it. Can't tell who it might be.
Supposed to be in jail. I better be in jail.
I'm coming. Who is it?
Mr. Maker?
Well, hello, Rachel. Come on in. Got a present for Bert.
Mr. Maker, please don't tell my father I came here.
Reverend, don't tell me his business. Don't know why I should tell him mine.
Is Bert all right?
Well, don't know why he shouldn't be. You know, I always figured the safest place in the world is a jail. Long as I've been bailiff here, we never had nothing but drunks, vagrants, a couple chicken thieves. Seems kind of queer to have a school teacher in a jail. Might improve the writing on the walls. You wait here, I'll bring him up. Don't run off, Bert.
Oh, Bert. Tell him you're sorry, that it was all a mistake. Please.
Sure. Tell them that if they'd let my body out of jail, I'd lock up my mind. Could you stand that, Rachel?
At least we'd be together.
It wouldn't be the same.
But it would
Rach, remember those long walks on those warm, dark nights along the riverbank? Wondering what the stars were for? Or what was on the other side of the moon? There'd be no more of that.
We could still have that.
No, Rachel. No, we couldn't.
You got another visitor, Bert.
So, this is where the fate of learning will be decided for the next 10,000 years. Can it be that both beauty and biology are on our side?
Who are you?
Hornbeck's the name, E.K. Hornbeck, Baltimore Herald.
Oh, yes, I've heard of you.
Yeah, my typewriter's been singing a sweet, sad song about the Hillsborough heretic B. Cates, modern-day Dreyfus, Romeo with the biology book. And, you must be Juliet.
My name is Rachel Brown.
You make me sound like a martyr.
You could be, but you haven't won your halo yet. That comes after you've been tossed into the arena with the lion.
You mean Brady?
Bullseye.
I don't want Bert to be a martyr. What are you trying to prove anyway?
Good question.
All I want to do is teach my students that man wasn't stuck here like a geranium in a flower pot. That life comes from a long miracle. It didn't just happen in 7 days.
Couldn't have said it better.
But it's against the law. A school teacher is a public servant. He should do what the law and the school board tell him to do. I don't see anything funny in all this, Mr. Hornbeck.
Objection sustained. Neither do I.
Then why don't you leave us alone? You newspaper people have already stirred up enough trouble for Bert. What do you want, anyway?
I came to tell boy Socrates here that the Baltimore Herald is opposed to hemlock. Don't worry, Juliet. I may be rancid butter, but I'm on your side of the bread.
I'm afraid, Bert.
I'm afraid too.
I are delighted to be among you.
We all voted for you 3 times.
I sincerely hope it was in 3 separate elections. I could only wish for one thing, that you had not given us quite so warm a welcome.
Here you are, Mr. Brady.
Oh, bless you. No, thank you.
Mr. Matthew Harrison Brady, as mayor of Hillsborough, may I say, this municipality is proud to have within its city limits a warrior who has always fought for us ordinary people. Why, the lady folks of this town wouldn't have the vote if it wasn't for you fighting to give them all that suffrage. Mr. President Wilson would never have gotten to the White House and won the war if it wasn't for you supporting him and being his Secretary of State. In conclusion...
And, mister, compliments Mason's funeral parlor, just 5 cents.
I'd rather die first.
A commission as honorary colonel in the state militia.
Colonel Brady, I like the sound of that. Who, may I ask, is the spiritual leader of this community?
Of the Reverend Jeremiah Brown.
Oh, how do you do, sir? Would you step right in and stand on my right?
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Friends of Hillsborough, you know why I've come here, not merely to prosecute a lawbreaker. I have come because something has happened in a schoolroom in your town that has unloosed a wicked attack from the big cities of the north. We did not seek this struggle. We are simple people who ask only to live in brotherhood and in peace and cherish our loved ones, teach our children the ways of righteousness and of the Lord. But what would they teach them? These idolaters, these priests of evolution. What would they have them do? They would have them measure the distance between the stars and forget him who holds the stars in his hand. They would rob them of their creator in the beginning and their hope of heaven in the end. And for the morality of brotherly love, they would substitute the immorality of self-love. They are lost, my friends, for I tell you, if a man believes he is descended from the beast, he must remain a beast. And as the young wolf turns on the old, so these innocent ones, corrupted and despairing of salvation, will turn upon their fathers. We will have a land of Sodom and Gomorrah, pestilence, fire, hatred, and death. It is for this crime against man and God, that we must make an example of that teacher who would sow the seeds of frustration and despair in the minds of our young ones here. The whole world must see how this criminal...
No, it isn't true. Bert Case isn't a criminal.
What is your name, young lady?
Rachel Brown.
She's my daughter, Colonel Brady.
Your daughter, Reverend, a lovely young woman she is, too. You're a school teacher, too, I see.
Yes.
I'm sure that you teach according to the precepts of the Lord.
Yes, I try.
Has this Mr. Cates ever tried to pollute your mind with any of his heathen dogma?
Bert isn't a heathen, Mr. Brady. He was only...
Rachel! No, my friends. This young woman's inability to recognize the face of evil testifies to her own innocence. My dear, I understand the feeling of loyalty, of Christian charity, if you will, that moves you to defend a colleague fallen from grace, and I have no personal malice toward this misguided young man, but he is condemned by his own acts, and no one on earth can defend him from the just punishment that awaits him.
You taking questions, Colonel Brady?
By all means. Do I know you, sir?
Working press, E.K. Hornback of the Baltimore Herald.
I've often taken issue with the mocking tone of Mr. Hornbeck's columns, but I will entertain his query nonetheless.
I wonder if you have any reaction to who your adversary is going to be in this case.
Well, I've not yet been informed who my adversary is, but given the belief in the righteousness of our cause, it hardly makes any difference.
It's Henry Drummond, Colonel. Does that make any difference?
Who's Henry Drummond? Henry Drummond, the atheist. He's a vicious, godless man, a creature of darkness, an agent of the devil.
Don't let him in town.
Keep him out! 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 Keep him out!
Please, I believe that we should welcome Henry Drummond. If the enemy sends his Goliath into battle, it magnifies our cause. Henry Drummond has stalked the courtrooms of this land for 40 years. When he fights, headlines follow. The whole world will be watching our victory over Henry Drummond. If St. George had killed a dragonfly instead of a dragon, who would remember him? We here in Hillsborough have an opportunity to slay not only the devil's disciple, but the devil himself.
It is good enough for Brady. It is good enough for Brady. It is good enough for Brady. It is good enough for me.
Rachel, I waited supper for you. It's on the table. Peace will come, my daughter. We must thank God the sinner stands naked and exposed.
Stop preaching, Pa.
You're upset, my darling.
I have something to tell you.
Let's eat something. We
No.
talk after.
Right now. I'm not leading Bert.
I don't understand. You heard what Mr. Brady said.
I love him, Pa. I love him.
It's the love of Judas. Rachel, this man has nothing to offer you but sin.
What's he done? What's he done that's so terrible? Why do you hate him so?
Because I love God and I hate his enemies.
Bert loves God.
Then what's he doing with Henry Drummond? Why is he bringing Henry Drummond down here to spew his atheistic filth into the ears of our people? Rachel, you're a school teacher. You know how easy it is to mold minds for good or twist them for evil.
Bert didn't twist any minds.
Ah! You are infected with the poison of his agnosticism. Rachel, get down on your knees. Beg for forgiveness.
Forgiveness for what?
Because you betrayed me. You have betrayed your faith.
I haven't betrayed anybody.
Oh, I'm glad your mother's not alive to hear this.
Pa, listen to me.
But if she is, watching down from heaven, I ask her to forgive you, to forgive me. Forgive her, Mother. Oh, dear
Ever since
God.
I was a little girl.
Forgive me.
I'd wake
for
up
I
at night
have
afraid in the
sinned.
dark, like the whole
Forgive
house
me.
was upside down.
Dear God, I have
And if I didn't hang on to the
failed
mattress, I'd fall
and
out
brought
into the
down
sky.
shame
I
upon
wanted to run to you, to have you
Forgive me,
tell
my
me that I was safe.
For I have tried to be both
Everything
mother
was
and
all right,
father
but it
to
was
our
always
child.
more afraid of you than of
And
falling.
I have failed.
It's the
I
same
have
way
failed.
now.
I have failed.
Pa,
I have failed.
Pa.
Tell me what to do. Guide my faltering steps. I love my daughter. How can I save her? Tell me what to do.
Get up. Get up.
And I shall sprinkle clean water upon you.
Get
And
up.
you shall be clean. And a new heart
Get up.
also will I give you. And a new spirit will I put within you.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, devil. Welcome to hell.
Hello, Hornbush. Hey, you know where the mansion house is?
That's what I'm saying. Follow me. Hillsborough, heavenly Hillsborough, the buckle on the Bible Belt. Popcorn. Want some?
Yeah.
Quite a circus, huh? Look at this.
Grandpa, welcome to Hillsborough. Have you come to testify for the prosecution or the defense? Popcorn?
You're on the jury, kid.
Hey, you Henry Drummond?
Yes, I am.
I'm Royce McHenry, farmer hereabouts.
Nice to know you, Mr. McHenry.
I want to tell you, we just plain folk down here. We don't need no outsiders telling us how or what to think.
Well, that's not my mission, Mr. McHenry.
Well, why don't you go back where you came from?
They get a little riled up, don't they?
Their Messiah arrived yesterday. Might as well give your ulcers a break, Drummond. Go home. You'll win no victories here.
Listen, I've been a lawyer long enough to know you don't win any total victories anywhere.
Total victories? There's only one man in this town who knows how to think, and he's in jail.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Local breeding committee.
Mr. Drummond, we're members of Mr. Cates' homeroom and biology class. We like Mr. Cates. We hope you do right by him.
I do too, son. I do too. Oh, thank you.
Then we would carry the fight to the people of each sovereign state, the people of our country.
Sarah,
and the laws in
you're looking as lovely as always.
Oh, it's so
Excuse me, General.
I only wish it weren't under these circumstances.
Henry Drummond. How are you, Henry?
Hello, Matt.
Well, I see that you've already made friends with some of the younger set.
Well, youth appeals to me these days.
We're not getting any younger, Henry.
You're not eating again. Oh, Matt. You know what the doctor said about overeating in this heat.
Don't worry, Mother. We need strength for the fight ahead.
Here's your room key.
It's you again, Mr. Hornbeck. I read your article yesterday. Very biased reporting, I must say.
It is a newspaper's duty to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. See you in court, Counselor.
I don't like that fellow. Come on, Henry. Let me introduce you to some of the good people of Hillsborough. This is Mr. Carter, the mayor.
Welcome to Hillsborough, Mr. Drummond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The prosecuting attorney for this district, Mr. Davenport, will be working together.
Mr. Drummond, sir, I want to assure you that while we may not agree with your ideas, we certainly respect your right to voice.
Good boy.
Mr. Drummond and I have fought side by side in a good many battles for the rights of the common people of this country. Twice he campaigned for me when I ran for president. Isn't that right, Henry?
That's right, Matt.
Now, after all these years, we find ourselves on the opposite side of an issue.
Well, that's evolution for you. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you. Sarah.
You may take a seat in the jury box, Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Meeker, call a veneering man to fill the 12th seat on the jury.
Jesse H. Dunlap. You're next, Jesse.
There'll be no more of that picture taking, I warned you. And I will tolerate no disturbance or demonstrations in this courtroom. This is a trial, not a dog and pony show.
Stuffing his face with fried chicken and belching platitudes.
You reporters, keep your voices down or I'll ban you from the court.
I just got the hug.
I wonder, before we continue, if the court will entertain a motion on a matter of procedure.
Will the learned prosecutor state the motion?
It's been called to my attention that the temperature in this room is now 97 degrees Fahrenheit, and it may get hotter. I don't think the dignity of the court will suffer should we dispose of a few superfluous outer garments.
Does the defense have any objection to Colonel Brady's motion?
No, but I just wonder if the dignity of the court can be upheld with these galluses I got on.
We'll take that chance, Mr. Drummond. Those who wish to remove their coats may do so.
Is the counsel for the defense showing us the latest fashions from the great metropolitan city of Chicago?
I'm glad you asked that. You see, I brought these along special. Just so happens I purchased them at the general store in your hometown, Mr. Brady, Weeping Water, Nebraska.
Let us proceed with the selection of the final juror.
State your name and occupation.
Jesse H. Dunlap, Farm and Implements. We sell tractors.
Sit down, Jesse.
Do you believe in the Bible, Miss Dunlap?
I believe in the holy word of God and Matthew Harrison Brady.
Amen.
Well, I believe this man is acceptable to the prosecution. Thank you.
Mr. Drummond?
No questions not acceptable.
Does Mr. Drummond refuse this man a place on the jury simply because he believes in the Bible?
If you can find an evolutionist in this town, you can refuse him.
I object to the counsel for the defense rejecting a worthy citizen without so much as asking him a question.
All right, Mr. Brady, I'll ask him a question. How are you?
Kinda hot.
So am I, excused.
You're excused from jury duty, Mr. Dunlap. Let me step down.
And I object to the note of levity counsel for the defense is introducing into these proceedings.
The bench agrees with you in spirit, Colonel Brady.
Really? Well, I object to this damn colonel business. Apparently, I'm not aware of the military record of Mr. Brady.
Well, he was made honorary colonel in our state militia the day he arrived in Hillsborough.
Well, that title automatically prejudices my client's case. Right, it conjures up some image of the prosecutor astride a white horse, decked out in full regalia of a militia colonel with all the forces of right and righteousness amassed behind him.
Well, we certainly want to give you a fair hearing in this courtroom. We don't want anything prejudicial to your client. What do you suggest we do, Counselor?
Break him. Make him a private. I have no serious objection to the honorary title of private, Brady.
Your Honor.
You know our mayor, Mr. Drummond. He has a suggestion to make.
By the authority of, well, I'm sure the governor won't have any objection. I hereby appoint you, Mr. Drummond, a temporary honorary colonel in the state militia.
Well, what can I say? It's not every day, sir, that one attains the exalted rank of temporary honorary colonel. Well, thank you, sir.
They ought to get him a uniform of tar and feathers. That'd teach him some respect.
Colonel Brady, Colonel Drummond, you will examine the next venereal man.
George Sillers, come to the stand. State your name and occupation.
George Sellers. I work at the feed store.
Be seated, George.
Tell me, sir, would you call yourself a religious man?
Well, I guess I'm as religious as the next man.